Hi there, it's Mark, and welcome to Book Ramble. This is just a thoughts, number 3, if I'm correct. And I'm saying this with the door wide open. It's coming up to 5:30 in the afternoon. Summer here. I'm recording this, fun enough, just in the new year. It's wonderfully atmospheric at the moment. I've got the window and the door open to the patio. The wind's out there. You'll probably hear the chimes going. It's beautifully warm and languid. And I just thought I'd sit here and talk about something that, well, you make of it what you wish. About a year ago, I was sitting in the lounge, and it just struck me for some reason about people in the Age of Sail. So I've written 2 books about the Royal Navy in the Age of Sail. But when you research that era, nearly everything is an account from an officer or a gentleman or woman. Very rarely from somebody who was what was called before the mast or the lower decks. And I got thinking, there must be somebody who would have written something that we could look at. Turns out there was one. I did some research. Gentleman that I'd never heard of. Happens to be an American, Jacob Nagle. I looked it up. Could you get the book? There was absolutely nowhere, anywhere in the world, as far as I could find out, that had a copy of his journal that he kept. And mainly it was written in retrospect at the latter part of his life, when, after many journeys, he'd ended up back in America. And he had been in the War of Independence. He'd become a privateer for the fledgling United States. He had been captured. To get out of prison in the Caribbean, he joined the Royal Navy. He deserted various ships. He always ended up back on a Royal Navy ship. He was part of the first fleet that took convicts to Australia. He was shipwrecked on Norfolk Island. He then got back to Britain. Then he went to the Mediterranean. I think it was HMS Gorgon. And he met Nelson. He then left, because he was getting quite old by then, or older, in his 40s. He left the Navy because he got to the age where he didn't have to worry about being impressed in the press gang. And he ended up going to China on a merchant ship. He ended up in South America. He was a prize master, and it's just unbelievable. And I thought I'd love to have a book of his. And then I found that there was one copy that was available, and it was a book shop that was no longer a shop. It was a woman working out of her house. And I thought, okay, it's bound to be in America and it's probably going to cost a lot of money to get it. Do you know, when I found out, it was actually a woman 2 streets away from where I live. And here it is. The chances of getting this still stagger me. Well, you make of that what you wish. Of all the places, it just happened to be a 5-minute walk. Unbelievable. So then months went by, and I decided that I was going to do a book channel. And I launched it in early August. When I was doing so, or just before, I can't remember exactly the period now, it's probably just before, I was in Devonport, which is a part of Auckland, and beautiful old kind of neighbourhood. And there's a bookstore there, actually called Bookmark. And I went in, and I don't have it now, but I'm showing you a clip from a previous episode in which I'd shown this set of 10 books. Before I went down there, I couldn't find it anywhere. It was not online. If it was online, it was very expensive. And I actually remember being in the car, and I said out loud, I would love to find a collection of those first 10 books. And I assumed that they would be separate and just in a bundle. And within 2 weeks, I walked into that bookstore, and there were 2 sets directly in front of me. One was more expensive because it had the top on. It was like a box in which they had been put in. And I got them. In fact, I circled the shop, wasn't thinking of buying them. just before I decided to leave the shop, I thought, okay, I'll get them. And I've been using them ever since. It's just... That's twice in which this serendipity of books just happened to be there when I needed it. Happened again, a third instance. I knew that for the channel, for my own kind of self-interest, gratification, I would start looking into Shakespeare. Now, I'm relatively late and new to Shakespeare, but I thought, okay, I'll do it. And I happened to find in a thrift shop quite a big book, which I've shown to camera, with all the plays. But it was very dense text, and although manageable, I thought I'd love to have something that I could look at, a bit more, well, not so much easy on the eyes, but easier to break up who's saying what, because it was a bit crabbed. And I went into my local town, and that was in the corner. I actually left, and I thought, oh, I've missed an opportunity, and I had to wait a couple of days, and I went back, and it was still there. I must admit, I'm reading it right now as I record, talking about King John, which will be the next play I talk about, which is unbelievable as a play. But there it was. Serendipity again. About a month, 6 weeks into starting the channel, I was looking at my thumbs, not my thumbs, but my thumbnails, and it was obvious that I was doing a lot of male authors, and I wanted to change that. So I started to go out and a room of one's own and whatever. And my daughter said, oh, you ought to do Jane Austen. Now, Jane Austen is as an author I've never really been interested in looking into. That's my problem. And I went out and I got a book. And just underneath was this, which I've already done an episode with my daughter Lucy, which is, she's actually taken Northanger Abbey for her own interest, and I'm going to start reading these. But again, they just happened to be there, and it was a real good price, about $50. Unbelievable. Well, it's happened again in the last couple of days. For Christmas, and I'm recording this in the very early new year, a mate of mine, Steve, sent me this. The Penguin Book of Pirates. Wow. I'm going to do an episode. There's a natural break. It's the first part of Before the Golden Age. And it's up to and including Henry Morgan and so on. Henry the Dread Pirate Mannering. It starts off with Drake. But one of the early pirates is Grace O'Malley. There you go. The Pirate Queen. Whose real name, in Irish, was Gronja ní Walia. And I'm going to show you the spelling. There it is. Gronja ní Walia. It's not how you think it's pronounced, because it's Irish. It's not English. And I thought, oh, this is a really interesting woman, because she was at the same time as Elizabeth I. And I thought I'd love to do her. Have a guess what I found today in the graphic novel section of a local shop. Now, the fact that this has actually been made, and I found, at the time I was thinking of her, just staggers me. This is a book that I'm definitely going to cover, along with the book about pirates. How is it possible that you think of these books and then they're there? They probably have always been there. I probably just walked straight by, not even thought about it. It was probably because I was thinking about it. But I can't remember ever seeing this. But I'm not sure when it was actually produced. 2019. Pirate Queen, The Legend of Grace O'Malley. Gronja ní Walia. Written by Tony Lee, illustrated by Sam Hart, coloured by Tarsis Cruz. What a name. and Flavio Costa, lettered by Kadu Simuish. So, it's just, again, serendipity. I don't know what to think of it. Has it ever happened to you? Am I going mad? Is this a thing? Perhaps it is. But I just thought I'd talk about it to camera. At this point, I don't even know what I'm going to call it. But it's just this mind-expanding thing that is happening on a regular basis. Go figure, make of it what you wish. Ta-ta for now.